back to The Watch. And guys, The Last Airbender Netflix TV show. We've done, 2 reviews of it?
Yeah, we've done episodes. Episode 1, episode 2. Those were deep dives. Unfortunately, we just don't have time to do every individual episode. And when we did episode 1, we hadn't finished the season. We finished the season when we started the episode 2 review, but we didn't get to all the thoughts, all the other thing. And so we want to finish off our full thoughts on the full, season of Avatar. And that's what this video is. Basically going to be a season review recap of what we thought. We've kind of shared our general thoughts. We can go a bit more specific now into spoilers. There'll be spoilers from the get-go. People kind of already know. But I haven't heard Tyrant's general thoughts on Avatar.
They're a little complicated. So, I watched, when it first came out, I watched it all.
Question.
Yes, go.
Have you watched the cartoon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have watched both of the cartoons. One is better than the other. Anyways,
we all know that.
So, I watched the full season.
It's Korra! No, of course not. See,
Nathan.
I know, you guys are ready to fight then.
So I watched the full season, and to be honest, first up, right out the gate, when they changed the intro to Kyoshi, I didn't like that. I'm not feeling that. The first couple of episodes were a bit rough. It wasn't really clicking with me. I wasn't really liking it. But then as the episodes progressed, I started to... It's not better than the animated show by any margin.
Yes.
However, I do feel like they represented the world reasonable in terms of like the aesthetic, how it looks. We'll get to Nathan in a minute. There's issues with pacing and story, but that's a complex thing that I think we can get into. So overall, I would say I'd give it like a 6 or 7. It's not that good.
High.
But
Wow.
this is the thing, is like there's no Avatar content that's good. I can watch this and turn my brain off, but there are still problems with it.
This is the thing, because as soon as you turn that brain on, the problems become more and more stark. Like, especially because when I did the rewatch for episode 2, that was so many problems.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm finding when you actually start to, paying more. If you turn off, because I was able to enjoy it, okay? But the thing is, the type of show that is going to have longevity and everything is the show that has rewatchability. As soon as you rewatch it, you start to see all the flaws start to come out. I was like, when I first watched it, I was on like a 5 or a 6 out of 10. I'm on like a 3 out of 10 for me.
Well, it's just funny you mention that, Shad, that, longevity for a TV show. Me and my wife watched the first season of the animated series before we watched the live action. Then we watched live action, and we're like, you know what? Let's watch season 2. You know what? Watch season 3. We'll watch the whole series again because of how good the original show is.
Yeah.
All right, let's start with something simple then, like the story and pacing. What are your thoughts, Nathan?
Trash, utterly terrible, unforgivable.
Shad?
The pacing, the writing is the worst part of the show. It's biggest flaw.
Writing in terms of what, like dialogue and stuff?
How they convey the dialogue, especially in terms of telling versus showing, big problems.
I agree with that. In terms of the actual pacing of how the episodes are constructed, because they're trying to fit like 20 episodes of an anime into like 8 episodes of, like 8 hours on Netflix, I can actually understand where they came from with it, because they're having to like combine storylines, put characters in where they shouldn't be. But there's
okay, a couple of things, because the only character where I think that Nathan, you're ready to burst.
You go, Shad, because then I've got my back up.
So, the only character that I felt had acceptable pacing for their arc was Zuko. Aang, they messed Aang's arc completely, where he was voicing his fears and concerns in episode 1 and doesn't really come to terms with it, or that did not feel convincing.
I'm not talking about characters at all.
No, these are the important in terms of pacing. It's the character development
pacing of the story.
Which are the characters?
Which are the characters?
Not really, because there's lots of... I'm talking about plot things happening.
With the characters?
With the characters.
Yes.
What the characters do.
What I'm saying is that the plot and characters are intertwined. You have to both have a discussion.
Because, all right, next thing, what's the girl's name?
Katara.
So, Katara's arc, barely didn't have an arc, right? Where they didn't understand her objections and annoyances, where they just made her this snooty, annoyed girl. And so they misfired with her character completely, to the point where the progression of her powers wasn't conveyed well in any measure for me. And one of the few enjoyable people was Sokka, but then again, they ruined him as I think they did all right with Zuko. Everyone else kind of just fell flat.
Nathan, you're bursting at the seams.
You need to say your stuff first, because then I'm going to take control of this.
Okay, all right.
Actually, what was your comment of them needing to fit everything in from the series?
Yeah.
Why the hell did they have Azula's arc with Ozai and stuff in this as well? If they were so constrained with time, why are you including things that weren't even in the original show? That ruined the story and the characters.
That's a spicy point right there.
And why would you put Avatar Kyoshi in this whole arc thing when she wasn't even... And then you add in Commander Zhao, who wasn't even in the show at the time. Like, you're doing all these little things. You have time constraints, and you can't even stick to the timeline.
Really?
You can't do it. No, apparently. These writers, they just couldn't do it.
Moving on.
Sorry, been bent up for a bit, you know.
Yeah, we've already discussed this a little bit, so now I'm just pushing buttons. So, things that I did not like. I did not like that Ozai. I like the actor, but what they did with him and Zuko was very... I don't know what you're going for there, Chief, but that is not these characters. I didn't like that they had Azula in. There was no need for that. Not only that, her character was also very... not her character.
Actually, that's another thing I forgot about her, Azula, because one, she was such a pointless addition to this season. I forgot about her, and then remembering her, the execution of her character did not feel right at all. I think they miscast her, and the way they used her in the show, poorly done as well.
And Meg and Tyler are just there for emotional support.
Yeah. Like I said before, I didn't like how they started off with the Kyoshi stuff, and then they leaned very heavily into that. I didn't like that they had Roku. I felt like they didn't want to show Roku enough, which I did not like, because he's very important to the story. So those are some things that I didn't like. Nathan.
Yes.
What did you like? I'm just curious.
I liked the flashback scenes with Iroh and Zuko. Okay. I think those were the one additions they made to the show that was actually really strong. I feel like that showed so much promise with the writers of this show that they could have actually had this foundation of a great animated series and actually lifted it up with knowing what people love and care about.
Just to, back up that point, the reveal of Zuko sacrificing to save those men's life, being on the boat, that was good.
That was changed.
That was one of my more enjoyed parts.
That was not in the original series.
Yeah. And so, that's why I say, their use of Zuko actually was done all right. It was everyone else that I felt was falling flat. But in that episode, I was like, that was one of the things that won me over to be able to enjoy the series. So my first watching, like I said, I did enjoy it. But when you start to actually look at what's holding everything up, it's like, oh, this is falling apart. And then I realized, Aang, he wasn't the people, Sokka and Zuko are probably the only enjoyable parts for me, and then some of the action was flashy and fun and stuff.
The bending is good. I like
the bending looked good.
It is better than the original live action. I can certify that now 100%. The acting is better. Even the lines are better.
Yes, there is some clunky lines here and there. That's sure,
but it's better than the original.
Yes. I think we can all.
Well, I forgot about it, so I had to double check for you all, and I painfully say yes.
For them, right? Not for you.
Yeah, not for me. Yeah.
All right. Well, something that I do want to ask you then, because something I think we disagree on is now I'm going to be very specific about this. I agree that they ruined character arcs and even writing of characters. I agree with this, but in terms of how the plot, how things are developing, that's what I'm curious. How you think that they could do it? Because keep in mind, the first season is 20 episodes, and this is 8 episodes. How do you fit all of that into that?
I found it very clunky, especially with episode 2, how they get to the island and stuff like that. It felt kind of forced.
I feel like the first couple of episodes, they were just let's force Kyoshi and then get to everything else. That's what it felt like, because we also had the issue of him meeting Suki first.
What about when they're flying above the city and they see the kid in the flying contraption and they're like, oh, look, another airbender. I was like, that felt forced and dumb.
that's pretty much... That's very close.
Where to begin with this? Because those 2 episodes in Omashu, I think are... I mean, then there's the season finale, which is also terrible. Because what they're trying to do is combine about half of the season into that one place.
Yeah.
And so you have things like going to the air temple, which would make sense to see a flying kid in the air temple. Yeah. And then there's the whole thing with the Fire Nation, why they're doing that in Omashu. You have Secret Tunnel just dispersed in as fan service. Yeah. There's the whole thing with Boomy and his character assassination. Like, there's so much there. And then even stuff with Zuko and Iroh showing up.
Just what they did with Boomy.
Yeah.
Well,
I was not a fan of that.
And also the progression of that arc at the city where, you know, she's just going to go off with this guy and
go off with Jet,
and then
it
was that's progression of story.
That was a full episode, or how many it was, and there's a whole thing with it. This one was very quick, that's what I mean. That I feel like they're trying to condense so much into such little time.
That's what I mean about clunky, though. It wasn't flowing naturally. It felt a lot of forced kind of moments where they push the characters where they want to go.
But see, this is one of those things where if you haven't watched the original, I wonder if people still feel it's clunky. Because I know how these
I think it's clunky just from a narrative perspective. Because remember, I don't remember huge amounts from season 1, so I can like look at a fresh perspective and then try and remember things. And yeah, my impression of just how the writing progressed, it was just bad writing. Not the worst I've seen. It wasn't Rings of Power bad, but it was really clunky, bad dialogue, poor characterization. Like the arguments between Sokka and Katara were awful. And contrast that to the arguments they had in the animation. They're so much more natural and normal and fit and builds their characters. Yeah. Like it just shows you the sheer massive difference in talent in writing. And it isn't just one thing, it's multiple things.
Think of it this way. Obviously, the live action is not as good as the original. It's not.
But then, even if you divorce it from the original, the more you look at the live action on its own merits, the worse it gets.
All right, but then we've got to compare it to other Netflix shows. So what about Cowboy Bebop?
Cowboy Bebop was worse.
It was worse. Yeah. It was much worse.
Yeah. Rings of Power, like, this is the thing. I was able to enjoy the live action. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
You're right, Nathan.
I think it's bad. I said I'm like 3 out of 10, right? Like it's 3 or 4, but I'm in that range. I don't think it's the worst thing. And I like...
That's what I mean. Like, I was expecting Cowboy Bebop levels. I was expecting to...
Set your standards low and you'll never be disappointed.
Legit, though. We're at a point where it's like, they're going to ruin it. And then when I watch it, I go, okay, it's not the best, but at least it's not what I thought it was. I thought, like, that's how I legit reacted to this show. I was like, oh, okay, this wasn't...
as terrible as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's still bad
because people were saying things before it came out, and it was not looking good. Nathan,
I mean, I have to agree with Shad with the point that they're trying to put in so many subplots together into a coherent story. Like I think of when they're in Omashu, they had to split up. Jet is placing a bomb in the inventor's briefcase for him to give plans to the Fire Nation people to stop them from bombing Omashu, but they're already getting exploded by Omashu. Like, there's so many layers happening that writers cannot have a coherent thought, and as a viewer, it is so confusing. I would rather them admit certain storylines to focus on the stronger elements, or at least like separate them a bit. The fact you had all this stuff in Omashu,
I agree.
You had secret tunnels going in to go to the king's palace to do all this other stuff. Like
the arc with Katara and Jet, you could have cut that. It was useless to this season.
Yes,
because like in the original series, that has a whole thing with it's a great bonding moment for the crew because Sokka says Jet's a bad guy, and the other two are like, nah, he's good, and then they're like, all right, Sokka, we need to trust you, and there's bonding there. We hear it's just like, I'm going to go off with this guy and have a thing kind of, and then leave.
I do think with the next season, they're probably going to cut a little bit. I think they're not going to make it so breakneck pace. But one of the ones where I think it worked is a strong word. It didn't feel so jarring was when he went to the Fire Temple and had Ko, the face stealer, because
this is one of the more bigger criticisms I have.
Go for it.
Okay, so when Katara and Sokka suddenly get, and I can't.
Oh
remember.
I hate the fact that they can go into the spirit world. I hate that.
So stupid.
I hate that.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate that.
And then they're in this state where they are captured by the face stealer, and he can devour them at any time, and Aang has to fly all the way off, right, to figure out how to beat him, right? And what's so annoying about that is that they wanted you to try and have this timer. You got to do it quickly, got to save a life. And I'm thinking, okay, a couple of hours, like, and then it ends up being days, which is like, oh, so there are no stakes anymore. There is no suspense. It'll take whatever length of time Aang needs to take to be able to save him to get back, and now they're saved. It was really bad writing. It was just, I can't figure out how to do it creatively or actually be honest to the time frame I set up, so I'm just going to make whatever arbitrary time length he needs to do. And then, so he flies to the fire temple, doesn't he, to try and learn who the face stealer was.
Yep.
He flies to the fire. How far away is that? I'm like, what?
Okay. In terms of world lore, the world I think is pretty small. You can fly very quickly to certain places.
Really? Because it takes
Yes,
this whole season to get. I know it's because they're jumping and they're visiting everything.
Well,
the world felt big.
In this series, Aang's more serious. He's not a go with the flow kind of kid guy. He's a straight to the point thing. The reason the original series took so long for them to go through is because they're traveling.
Yeah, they're stopping all these places that Aang wants to hang out, which they cut that from this
entirely, so it makes no sense now.
Like for the series, the way it was structured felt like the Fire Nation was still a leg away, right? And they're in the midst of earth-bending territory, right? And then Aang just suddenly, I'll fly to the Fire Nation temple to get this crucial information because my friends are about to die any minute. And I was just like, what?
I mean, they can fly. They're like in all the Avatar, like they can fly, so they can go wherever they want.
About the speed of a car.
Is it though? Like Aang in the original
upper,
series,
maybe
also
is a little
flies
fast,
to the
but on
flight
his
temple.
he does it on his glider thing.
Yeah, he does that in the original series as well.
He can run faster than, I forgot, they say wind. He can run really fast. He can fly, but there's a reason why he has upper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, but my concern more is the fact that when he goes to the Fire Sage's temple, he just goes in.
Sure.
Because in the original series, he's like, "Hey guys, I'm the Avatar," and like, we serve the Fire Lord.
And then he needs fire. Yes, he needs multiple sages.
And then they do the whole thing, and there's a smart, clever thing where it's like we make it look like that he's in. Like, there's so much clever writing in the show. With this one, it's like I'm just going to go in. And I remember watching this, I was like, are they going to do anything to have conflict or him have to work for it? Oh no, okay, he's just there now.
Yeah. Oh, and also when he gets the crucial one thing that he needs to be able to give back to the face stealer that will release the thing, just so happens to conveniently be right here
in the previous life. This face stealer, that was just. They also brought something from the comics, which I'm not happy about, the little totem thingy, and the fact that what. Ko's law is that if you show emotion to him, he will steal your face. He's a spirit. He doesn't need to eat people because he's a spirit. So they change all that to have stakes, where in the original series, Katara and Sokka are sick because of the storm they were out, the other day, and so Aang has to go find medicine, and then gets trapped by the Fire Nation, which makes sense because he's not with his friends, and then the Blue Spirit introduces Zuko and all sorts of stuff, where here it's just like, my friends are trapped in the spirit world, I need to find Ko, get Totem, go Fire Nation, go back and forth, and then we have this element where he gets captured, and then it's a one-to-one to the original series, and everyone loves it. The framing is perfect. The characters say the lines exactly, except for Commander Zhao for some reason. He's just, a terrible character. And then we have to have this long-ass dialogue with Aang and Zuko about how they were friends or not.
Yeah.
And you know how they finish the long-ass dialogue? With the line that was just in the original series that was perfect enough, which was, you reckon if we were friends 100 years ago, we could get along? And then Zuko goes, hurrah! Instead, we get 20 bloody minutes of Zuko talking about what preferred brush he has because they're both bald?
And bear in mind, throughout all this time,
we have 8 hours of content, but let's just drag it out.
Katara and Sokka should have been eaten by the face stealer 2 days ago.
But let's talk about brushes.
So I'm enjoying myself today a lot more than you.
Excuse.
It was bad writing. annoying. And the reason why they forced it, this arbitrary time frame for the face stealer to just never eat the bow, even though they had his mercy. They did in The Mandalorian 2 as well. In season 2, the Mandalorian gets captured and he can die any time. But there's still enough time for Baby Yoda to freaking get in the spaceship, fly off, get the other female Mandalorian to come in and save him. And he was only just about to be killed right when she arrives. Bullcrap. It's arbitrary nonsense that they're just doing because they can't think of any way to actually be constrained to the time frame. And the only reason they did that, right, is to just accept this terrible bit of pacing, right, is because they wanted Aang to be alone, captured, have the Zuko moment and everything like that, when there's so many more creative, better ways to write those scenes in and not to have this stupid whole setup with the face stealer and Sokka and then being sold.
I've had enough. I've had my fun.
Okay. But we're going through kind of chronologically in the season, so that was that arc.
All right. So what I think of Avatar: The Last Airbender live action Netflix is simple.
Now let's get to the finale.
You want to go to the finale?
Yeah, we need to talk about the finale.
I was going to talk about my real feelings, but anyway, let's go for it.
Oh, you have real feelings. This is all a lie. He was just baiting the whole time.
They got 25 minutes of rage.
Oh, yeah. You love it, don't you?
Anyway, you want to go to the finale?
No, spoiler. What's your true feelings?
All right. So, in terms of my actual rating, I'm in the 3-4 range. When I first watched it, I was more like, this isn't Cowboy Bebop, but it's also not good. Like, this is nowhere comparable to the original one. The original one is really good. Korra, not so much. This is better than the M. Night Shyamalan one, but I think it's only better just because I like the bending in this. I think the bending is cool. I do genuinely think that looks good, and I like the action for the most part. I don't like what they did to the characters. I don't like fitting 20 stories into one episode, but I genuinely will give them credit for trying it, because, like, it's crazy that they're even doing that. Because think of the M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah.
How much they skipped.
Yeah.
And
they could have done it and not inserted their own, stories and stuff,
Well, I originally expected them to just skip all of it and do, like, a condensed version like that.
But I would rather them skip Secret Tunnel than do some weird fan service thing that serves no purpose.
I agree, but then at that point, they're just going to start skipping things that you want and give you things that you don't want. So I'll give them...
Hang on, no. Like, if they're not injecting their own crap, that gives them more time to give you the stuff that they want. If they focus on the core main narrative elements of season 1 and just grab those.
The problem is the challenge, just in and of itself. I don't think there's a writer who can do it.
Oh, no, they can. They don't have the talent to do that.
Do you think there's a writer out there that can fit 20 episodes into, like...
Not
Watch
20.
me! Watch me!
Nathan can.
Oh, do it!
But yeah, that's kind of where I sit on it for the most part.
No, Wheel of Time, right? When we're looking at Wheel of Time season 1 and 2, right? Mm-hmm. I'm really familiar with the story. I gave examples like, if you do this plotline thing, that's episode 1. Do this for episode 2. I could break down Wheel of Time into 1-2 season based on what the first and second book, and you would get most of what you wanted in that time frame, and it wasn't hard. You just need to understand the story and be willing to give audiences what they want, and also have their talent. And do it.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think the writers were talented enough to do this. I don't think they actually cared about giving the audience what they want, and that's always proven when they inject their own bullcrap. Okay. As soon as you do that, you're prioritizing your own, indulgence over what the fans actually want. And so I think there was that, and I think they think that they are loyal to the series and they love it, but clearly not enough. Because I think there are some signs of, it seems like they love the show. Like, they took time with the sets, with the bending and things, and that comes from a place of sincere appreciation, I feel. But then the fact that they disrespected and ruined so many other things is signs that you don't actually love this if you're changing so much.
I said it to Nathan. I think the actor that played Sokka, I think he's actually, like, a fan.
I've seen his TikToks, and he actually makes digs at himself and stuff with the show. Like, he's a fan of it.
He seems like an actual fan.
I think he did a great job as Sokka. One of my favourite parts of this.
I like everything that was wrong with it wasn't his fault. Let me put it that way. In terms of other characters that I liked, Uncle Iroh, I liked for the most part. Obviously, I feel like it's all the writing's issue. I feel like if they give him
100%.
good material, it would be good. And I'm very interested if they do the full story. If he gets jacked, I want to see that. I want to see that.
I think they really ruined Iroh at the finale. He just stood there and let the fish get killed. He could have acted so much sooner, and he just felt really.
Didn't he? He tried to stop him, didn't he?
Only after. There was so many people, not just him, but everyone was standing around as this guy, they're aware that this guy is about to destroy waterbending for the friggin' world, and that's insanity, right?
Yeah.
And so too many of them were just standing around and not acting urgently or in any way that reflected how serious what was actually happening. And he just kind of stood there and only tried to firebend after the thing was stabbed.
No, he did it before. He shoots it out of his hand and he drops it to stop him.
My memory is that they're standing around way too long.
They're standing around.
I've got to think how they do it in the TV show.
He pulls it up and he starts monologuing, and then when he's about to do it, he goes, "Don't do it." Avatar shows up and he goes, "I'm going to do it," and then he firebends and he drops it to get it back in the water, and then he gets on the floor and stabs it. Iroh did try to stop him.
Oh, okay. Because in the TV show, what happens is Iroh shows up and says, "Whatever you do to that fish, I'm going to do to you tenfold." And then so he puts it back down, and then he firebends into the water and kills it.
That's so much. See, in the show, like, I know that I can't remember exactly because too much time has passed on. But there was a moment when there was something really urgent. He's saying he's going to kill it, and everyone's just sitting around. There was time. They're showing the way they paced it. There was time that someone could have stopped him, and no one does. Right? Where what you just repeated from the show was 100 times better and makes him sound like this full-on serious. Where now he was passive, and it seemed like he knew what was happening for ages in the live-action show. Just letting him go on and do it.
No, he did. Yeah. Because in the show, I'm pretty sure Zhao doesn't really mention it until like the very end. He's like, "Okay, I'm gonna get the fish," and then it's when Iroh's like, "Well, hang on, the Fire Nation needs the moon too, Zhao." Like.
And so that was one of the things that ruined it for me. In terms of the finale, the arc with Katara and how she, needs to fill us in. Nathan, I'll let you.
Bloody girl bosses just have to ruin all the good moments. Because instead, okay, in the original series, they obviously don't train women.
Yes.
Katara proves her worth and says, "Okay, you need to train." And as well, there's a connection. So they basically fight.
Did they have healing as part of the waterbending in the show? I couldn't remember that.
Yeah, there was healing. Well, there's a whole story that they didn't do in the live action where like Katara learns about healing and stuff, and there's a whole thing with fire and water,
Which is important for them.
for later for Aang when he has to release chakras and be the Avatar state.
Don't spoil it,
we
Nathan.
don't need that. We'll just have comic book lore with totems and face stealers because that's more canonical, isn't it? I'm sorry, but that was just terrible.
Do you remember when we did the first reaction to the trailer and how much of a fanboy Nathan was?
So
and I was
excited.
I was sitting there
It
like,
looked
Nathan.
so good. I was like, they might do it, and then they didn't.
I was just sitting there like, settle down, mate. Just relax. And he's like, "No, I'm allowed to be a fan of something." He's like, yeah.
I am.
Just how far you've fallen.
Like the Kenobi show, I'll get excited for it, but
You fanboy for this show far more
For what?
in here, this review.
Oh yeah, Avatar's great. Yeah.
fake
Keep going,
fan.
Nathan.
Fake fan.
All right, Katara.
Katara. So what happens is she gets sent off to learn healing, and Aang says, "Don't worry, I'll learn everything during the day, and then at night time we'll train." And they get caught. And
You're
then
talking about the cartoon here.
the cartoon,
Yes.
yeah. So then they both get caught, and then Katara's basically like, "You know what?" They do a tribal council, and she's like, "1v1 me, bro, outside right now." And then he's like, "You know what? You're a little girl. I'll do it." And they fight. And then her necklace falls, and then he goes, "Oh, this is my ex-fiance's necklace." And she's like, "No, that's my grandmother's necklace." And there's this whole thing of like, the reason why your ex-fiance left was because your there's so many things coming to my head now. Because you're in your traditions, she wanted to be more progressive, and water is ever changing. That's one thing that she kind of was talking about a lot in the series. Is like, you need to change. It's adaptable. And so right now there's a war going on. I need to learn how to fight. And also I'm a good waterbender. So she ends up learning it because she's the only one from the water tribe in Southern. I think that's everything from that one. And then eventually when she fights Zuko does the whole thing of like, you learn to master whatever. So like there was, where in the show it was so robbed because he's like, "You found a master." And she's like, "Yeah, myself." Which is just like, okay, they're trying to insert something there that wasn't there now because you took it out. So
I can't remember the fight she had with the water training guy in the cartoon. Was she as powerful in the cartoon version versus how much she was OP in the The live action?
To an extent, yes.
To an extent?
Because
Okay.
there's an element, and once she does learn how to be a waterbender, she's the best.
She's pretty tough, yeah.
She's the best.
Yeah.
Like,
but they handled her progression and
So much better.
training,
Well, 'cause
so much better in the cartoon.
there was learning there as well, where like, you know, at the start she got the waterbending scroll, she couldn't do it the same speed as Aang. She eventually adapted to it, and because she was very hardworking, and there's a thing too in season 2 where it's like, okay, Aang still needs to master waterbending, but they can't stay at the Northern Water Tribe. Makes sense for Katara to be a master then, to then teach Aang, because then he can still learn waterbending, and that actually helps with the story. Where with this one, it felt very much like she was just always good at it, you know, talking about air bending made her a better waterbender, and the fight felt very... It was a girl boss moment, because there was
Felt
no
like
progression for the old man to change, for her master, and there was just... As a culture, it's like... The progression there was, the women want to fight, let them fight, at this random point.
Did they exaggerate his sexism in the live action to the cartoon?
I think it's about the same.
About the same?
If not worse. I think sometimes they tone down the show a lot.
Because the show's too edgy now. So then, of course, Aang goes, you know, super avatar state. I didn't get much out of it. And so I felt they found, especially because there was those moments like that where the whole, you know, waiting too long to try and stop the fish thing and everything like that. The progression of Sokka's relationship to the princess girl.
She is not a good actress. That was. It's funny because the live action, the original one, is better than this newer one. That's the one thing I'm like, okay, it's better. Also, they've ruined a whole arc with her. She was engaged to that one guy. In the live action, he's a nice dude.
He's awesome.
He was just so opposite to how he is in the animated series. He's a jerk. He's like, yeah, you wear his hot, but you know what's better? The perks of marrying a princess. And Sokka's like, you jerk, man. Like, I hate you. And there's this conflict where he's like, you know what, Sokka? Let's go hang out and be buddy-buddies. It's like, that throws me off completely. And Yui's whole thing with, apparently she can, like, magically make things now for no apparent reason.
I don't know.
She could never do that originally. And there's just elements now that have been ruined because they did Ko the Face Stealer earlier on. It ruins the finale in the season where Aang needs to find the moon and water spirits, and so he's meditating, and the Moroku says, you gotta go to that guy, he knows who they are because he's super old, and there's that whole character arc there, and once he discovers who they are, that's when Zhao has then showed up and had this, so there's more stakes there. And once that kind of happens and it's game over, that's when Aang goes full Super Saiyan, like, okay, it's like panic mode now, and then he goes with the water spirit, and they go and basically kill everyone. And I didn't like the live action because of two reasons. One, they did this whole weird, the spirit now needs to roam and find its other self because it's lost it, and so Aang's gonna be lost forever. There's now stakes there that weren't there before, and you're just making stuff up because you know you forgot the other stakes from before. And the one part that they robbed the most was with Commander Zhao and Zuko and Iroh, because what happened obviously was Commander Zhao tried to kill Zuko, and at the end Zuko shows up and Zhao's like, "Oh, you survived. Okay, one of us is gonna die here." And there's this awesome fight and stuff. And in the animated series, the way that it ends is that they're fighting, and then the water spirit comes and takes Zhao to kill him. And then Zuko says, grab my hand, I'll save you. And Zhao, with his pride, rather dies than be saved. Where in this one, it's like, Iroh's just going to kill a man.
That just has so much more emotional weight and characterization than what we got.
Yeah.
It's just...
It was a bit disappointing in the season finale, yeah.
So, any other final thoughts?
No, that's really it. I mean, I'm excited for book 3, just because I want to see that in live action. Legitimately, I want to see Sozin's Comet. I want to see the Phoenix, the
Phoenix King.
Yeah. I want to see all that happen in live action and what they do. That's about it.
So, yeah, like I said, I didn't enjoy it, but I wonder if they'll try and, because now the other 2 seasons have been confirmed. I wonder if because there has been positive reaction to it.
I think
it wasn't the worst thing.
Yes, I think everybody across the board is going, this isn't the greatest thing in the world, but this is also not.
And the fact that it's such a big show, we haven't had anything Avatar in so long. Netflix probably got massive spike in numbers and subscribers from this show.
And they're also bleeding from The Witcher.
Yes. And so they're like, all right, we need... Stranger Things is finishing up soon, we need a new show.
Yeah.
Do you think that they'll try and do better for season 2?
My initial thought just before was I reckon they're going to cross-dimension whatever, both season 1 and 2. Sorry, season 2 and 3. We're going to get parts of season 3 and season 2 and season 3. They're going to mix things up a bit.
This is one of those rare instances where it wasn't so terrible that it's written off completely. Like Rings of Power, doesn't matter how good season 2 is off. If it's based
Halo,
off the chronology...
dog water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's based off the chronology of this dog crap previous season, you can never correct the ship. Because season 1 wasn't complete dog crap, it's like, maybe... I'm not sure they ruined anything so drastically that it's, unfixable.
You need to do some... you need to retcon some things that you've done in the first
Probably.
season. Yeah. My biggest concern for these new seasons is going to be Toph. Because she's a very interesting character. I think it'd be very hard to cast her properly and also write her properly with the current writers that we have.
I just realised, I think what they did with the sister, what was her name?
With Katara.
With Katara, that gives some concerns for season 2, because it really felt like they were wanting to inflate her prominence in season 1 to, replace Zuko too early on, which kind of shows where their mentality is.
Sorry, say that again.
Sorry,
what?
when we went... I said Katara, it was Azula.
Right.
Azula.
Sorry. I was like, wait, what? Yes.
I don't remember
There's so many things wrong now, because the reason why Azula shows up in season 2 is because basically Ozai says, all right, your brother and uncle have screwed up, go get them, bring them back, and you're going to be in charge of getting the Avatar. And so then there's this new subplot of why is she there? Also, it makes it interesting because she's the perfect, pretty princess. You can do no wrong.
They didn't do well by her character.
And so in this new season now, she's going to be, going to get Zuko, and now she's going to be, somewhat doubtful about herself. I watched season 3 recently, and there's an episode where it's they tell all their sob stories, and Azula's like, yeah, my mother thought I was a monster, but, it hurt, but I'm fine. She's so cold and heartless, but this new one, she's like...
Ember Island, yes.
Yeah, Ember Island. It's a great episode. But, I feel like my biggest concern is these characters that obviously are really important to the plot, like Toph, like Azula, even Uncle Iroh and stuff in season 2. You get some really heavy stuff of him dealing with his son, which I think they'll do okay with, because season 1 they brought stuff into it that was good. But did you see that a parody tweet of them saying Toph wasn't going to be blind?
No.
Oh, there was a parody account of, I think it was Discussing Films or whatever. Someone did the creators said that they're gonna have Toph not be blind because they don't want to offend blind people and stuff and everyone believed them.
Well, that was believable in the modern climate.
So my biggest concern is Toph, because she's obviously a girl boss, but
my biggest concern is the bending. So far,
Really?
they haven't spent any time, not the effects, Aang learning the bending.
oh yeah, he's only done airbending.
They ruined that.
They haven't
Yeah.
spent any time on him doing water, which they should have done this season. So what, is he going to do water and earth next season? I'm worried that they're going to do that, which I feel like would be a bit too quick.
Stuff with the other avatars. The fact that Roku was the weakest avatar they showed is also very concerning, because there are really key elements where Roku has to teach Aang about what happened previously. You got to kill the Fire Lord. There's so many things where...
If they ruin Roku stuff, I'm not going to be happy. I will lose my mind.
It's insane to me that they did Avatar Kuruk a better... Even then, he was kind of annoying in the seasons. Roku is so key to Aang's story.
And Zuko's.
And Zuko's. They're if you can't get that right in the first season, later season's going to be a really big issue.
That's why when they opened up with Kyoshi for the first 3 episodes, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What is... This is not this. What are we doing here?
And
What are you talking about? You loved the progression of the story.
Yeah,
I thought it was a 7 or 8 out of 10.
It is a 7 or 8 out of 10. I loved the progression of the story. I felt like the Netflix writers did a really good job of combining all of the elements
That
in
you
a
hate?
commendable way. Shut up, Nathan.
Tyrant has lost all credibility. You should never trust him ever again.
Yeah, my last episode of Nice Watch, guys.
But yeah, so my concerns for the show are even greater, and the fact that they have greenlit season 2 and 3, I'm even more concerned what they're going to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if, because Netflix wants more runtime, they're going to insert more things from their own imaginations.
You've convinced me. I'm now more concerned about season 2 and 3.
Now, they could listen to feedback and go, you know what, we need to fix some things. Maybe they'll retcon some stuff and actually have writers in that are competent because they know they're going to get 2 seasons. They can plan it out. But that's giving them a lot of faith for things in the past they have not done.
So overall, pretty disappointed in the Avatar, live action adaptation.
It's not as bad as the original live action movie, but come on, you got the blueprint there. It's not that hard.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't recommend it because the cartoon is just so much better. Go watch the animation. It's shocking because I rewatched a couple of episodes of the animation, starting season 1 again, and I'll probably try and watch all through. But the quality of writing in it is just so superior to this live action. Don't bother with it. Just watch the original.
It's funny what Mark Hamill said when he first read the script, because he does Ozai's voice. He thought it was going to fail because he said this is too smart for kids. Kids won't be able to follow along with how smart this writing is. But he was wrong because everyone loved it.
Yep. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And as always, stay on watch.